Hello friends and welcome back to Picture Astrology. Today we will talk about how Mars behaves in the third house for a Gemini Ascendant horoscope. And when the ascendant sign is Gemini, third house is the sign of Leo. Now generally Mars in the third house is considered a very good placement in a chart. However, for the Gemini Ascendant, Mars actually acts as the first rate malefic planet. So this position also comes with its own set of challenges. And we will see what those challenges are and how we can overcome those challenges. More specifically, we will look into the significations of this placement in your work life. It has a big say in the professional life of a person. Along with it, how you deal with your siblings, your relationships with them, and also the kind of challenges you face in your personal as well as professional life because of your enemies. We will see all of it in next few minutes. Before we begin the analysis of this particular position, let's just see how Mars behave for a Gemini Ascendant horoscope. Now, for a Gemini Ascendant, Mars is considered first rate malefic, the most malefic planet in the horoscope. And this is because Mars, number one, is naturally a malefic planet, and number two, Mars owns Scorpio, which is the 6th house, and Aries, which is the 11th house of this horoscope. So 6th house and 11th house lords are generally considered very evil in Vedic astrology. Now, most people know that 6th house is a negative house which shows your death, diseases, enemies, etc. But why 11th house lord? Because 11th house is generally known as the house of gains. And that is right, that planets in 11th house do help a native gain from his professional life and otherwise. But the lord of 11th house is known to increase greed, is known to increase love for physical life, is known to increase lust, and also it is known to signify diseases which are very difficult to diagnose, or diseases which occur because of untreated diseases, one thing leading to another. So maybe sometimes people say if you don't treat malaria very easily, it turns into a typhoid, or so those kind of diseases are signified by 11th house and its lord, and therefore Mars becomes highly negative because of the 6th house and 11th house lordship. So now when such a Mars is present in the third house, which shows a person's courage or risk-taking abilities, naturally the person is seen as highly daredevil kind of person by others. They are the ones who have a big risk-taking ability. They are ready for anything, anytime. They don't think twice before jumping into any situation, however troublesome, fearful, or dangerous it may be. So they love challenges. They are very fond of new adventures, new things in life. And these are all great tendencies, because only a courageous person can explore life to full potential. But courage without enough thought given into it, courage without a balanced mind could be dangerous. So whenever this position is there in the chart, it is very important that Moon, Mercury, and in Jupiter, those planets which signify a person's wisdom and mental abilities are strong, because otherwise a person could become foolhardy, would take risk without thinking. So analysis of these placement or these planets is highly important. However, nevertheless, this position definitely means that a person has a high risk-taking ability and he is a big daredevil. And if that courage and that risk-taking ability is channelized properly, the person can rise very well in life. Now, third house also signifies your brothers or siblings. And position of such a malefic Mars here in this house generally shows that you have a very competitive relationship with your siblings, especially the brothers, because Mars is a male planet. So if you have a younger brother, the relationship between you and him would be highly competitive. You both will be, try to one up the other all the time. And in many cases, because of this malefic presence, you may not have younger brother. You may be the youngest in the family. Now, another thing to note is that Mars is Lord of the 11th house, which generally shows your elder sibling or elder brother. So, what it does show is that your elder brother might be supportive of you, and if you and your elder brother get into some kind of professional relationship, that professional endeavor could be beneficial to both of them, because 11th house also shows gains. But nevertheless, any relationship with brothers and siblings is bound to have a good amount of competitiveness in it because of the placement of Mars here. Now let's talk about the 6th house affairs. Now Mars from this placement of 3rd has a direct aspect on this 6th house, because Mars aspect the 4th from itself according to Vedic astrology. Now generally, whenever Mars or any malefic planet has a relationship with the 6th house, it is considered very good. It is said that it will defeat your enemies, it will eradicate your debts, etc. And that is right in many ways. But in this case, the 6th house has the sign of Scorpio, and that sign is lorded by Mars itself. So basically Mars is the owner of this house, meaning Mars is responsible for taking care of affairs of this house. And therefore, this aspect of Mars in this 6th house will defeat your enemies, but not before giving birth to them and making them strong. So what it basically shows is you will have enemies, you will have probably strong enemies. They would probably create a lot of hurdle in your life, in your work life especially, but eventually you will be able to defeat them. And same goes with your debts, meaning you probably for your business or professional life, you would take some kind of loan, and the loan could be heavy, and it would take a lot of effort from your side if you become reckless in repaying that. So be careful of these things. Now 6th house also shows people who work for you, your subordinates, and Mars position or Mars aspect here kind of shows that your relationship with them could also be very tricky. They can perceive you someone who is very Hitler-like, who wants to kind of rule all the time, and may not perceive you as someone who is sensible. So please take care of your subordinates well, because they can cause some problems to you in life as well. However, since Mars is here in the house of courage and initiative taking, what it does show that after all this difficulty, you are going to prevail over everything. So that also is guaranteed when Mars is here. Now 6th house also shows legal issues or court cases or any problem with the government agencies. Typically when we have Mars here, we saw that it gives some kind of reckless nature, very highly courageous nature, and because of that people can get into legal tangles, although chances of you prevailing is also higher, primarily because you have that kind of mindset. You are that kind of daredevil person who can take on a challenge, who can fight off your enemies by sheer force of your will. But as I said, legal issues are possible, especially related to land, because Mars is the Karaka of immovable property, which can cause problem to you, but again you will eventually prevail. So overall, this placement shows a personality which is highly adventurous, a very daredevil attitude, and because of that, sometimes the reckless nature of the person leads to creating their own enemies and their own obstacles. But because of their hardworking nature, they eventually overcome those things. So some of the horoscope which I've seen and people who have been highly successful with these horoscopes are the ones who use this physical prowess in a constructive way, meaning they involve themselves in work which needs a lot of physical exertion. So people who have to kind of keep on running from one place to another all the time, property brokers or builders, or people who are involved in some kind of agricultural business, where apart from your mental abilities, mental abilities are needed everywhere, but apart from that, a lot of physical exercise or physical work, especially with their hands, is also needed. I've seen many contractors of buildings who have been highly successful with this placement, and they are the folks who are very hands-on. I mean, if they have to do something, they would just go ahead and do it themselves. Very physically involved and highly successful in their field also. So because what happens is, all that energy, all that adventurous spirit is involved and used in very constructive manner. So you don't have time to create enemies or problems in your life. So my dear friends, I hope you liked this analysis of Mars in the third house for Leo Ascendant horoscope. Please do like and subscribe to my channel. Please put in comments for what is the next combination you want me to create a video upon. And until we meet next time, have a wonderful life. Bye bye.